Did Jerry Jones deliver a Randy Gregory ultimatum? Mike Fisher reporting from 105.3 The Fan Studios in downtown Dallas, getting ready for a Wednesday morning program. Our guests on Tuesday included Jerry Jones and Rick Carlisle. Good. Our guests on Wednesday include Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman. Who knows what we'll pull off Thursday, although Carl Banks, the all-time New York Giants great, is going to join us for sure as we get ready for Cowboys at Giants, a semi-almost playoff play-in game. And Randy Gregory's ready, and Jerry Jones is ready to see more. In our conversation with Jerry, yes, this is an exclusive, I brought up the idea of the Monday meetings at the Star, where Stephen and Jerry and Will McClay and the coaching staff all sit down, and Jerry kind of gets fed the information that he needs. Sometimes that he wants to hear, I'm afraid, but a lot of times that he needs to hear. And then he asks questions. And my instinct told me that on this Monday morning, after the Cowboys win over the Eagles, in which Randy Gregory was a dominant force, my instincts tell me that Jerry said, Mr. Mike McCarthy, why don't we play that Randy Gregory some more? Because I'm sure Jerry's aware, as you are, because we've talked about it here, of the fact that as of a couple weeks ago, Randy Gregory was playing 20% of the snaps. That means not only was Tank Lawrence playing ahead of him at defensive end, nobody's going to make an argument there, and not only was Aldon Smith playing ahead of him at defensive end, we'll have that discussion here in a moment, but as we wrote on CowboysSI.com, a favorite of the defensive staff, Dorrance Armstrong, was playing way ahead of Randy Gregory. Now, this isn't an indictment of any of those guys. I need Tank Lawrence on the field. There's no doubt about that. Aldon Smith is a candidate for Comeback Player of the Year. There's no doubt about that. And Dorrance Armstrong is a keeper. The coaching staff tells Jerry Jones a lot about how much they like Dorrance Armstrong, which is why every week on 105.3 The Fan, when Jerry talks about his favorite things of 2020, he mentions Dorrance Armstrong. It's not that Jerry doesn't mean it, not that Jerry doesn't like him, but Jerry is in his comments reflecting what the coaching staff has told them that they like. Again, that's fine. But now watch what happens when Randy Gregory plays. If you give him enough snaps, he'll do what he did on Thanksgiving when he had 2 sacks. Okay, and we made the argument, and I tried to explain here, and unfortunately, not everybody in Cowboy Nation understood when I said people on the coaching staff like Dorrance Armstrong so much that he plays ahead of Randy Gregory. It wasn't Randy Gregory's in the doghouse. I'm just telling you a fact, and the snaps prove my fact. So is that going to continue on? Well, now we see Randy Gregory versus the Eagles. And in addition to all the numbers that jump off the page, and Gregory after the game says, I know everybody likes stats, and the casual observer likes stats. No, even the most intense observer likes stats. In fact, even pro football players themselves like stats. And I think Gregory had 1.5 sacks in that game. And here's the stat. He got his hands on the football 4 times. He had a deflected pass. Okay, that's great, but normal. He also forced 3 fumbles. One of them because he was able to run stride for stride with the fast and quick Miles Sanders going east-west and then diving for him, tackling him, taking him down, and then sweeping his right arm into the chest area of the running back and knocking the ball loose. It so happened that they were near the sideline, so the ball bounced harmlessly for the Eagles out of bounds. But you get 1.5 sacks, you force 3 fumbles, and you get a pass deflection. And yes, Jerry Jones in the meeting on Monday, I knew he did, said, why don't we play Randy Gregory more? What are we doing? And one of the criticisms of this coaching staff under Mike McCarthy, and we've made it here before, is that they have been way too slow to recognize, we should change that. They were way too slow to recognize it on Dontari Poe. They were way too slow to recognize it on Daryl Worley. Way too slow to recognize it in a positive way on Donovan Wilson. Way too slow to recognize it on Terrence Steele. Way too slow to recognize it on Brandon Knight. Let's see. Do I need to go on? Too slow, arguably, in one direction or the other on Ben DiNucci, because they've gone both directions. Too slow to recognize it on Tony Pollard. Can I stop now? I'm not trying to urinate in your Cheerios here on this 5 o'clock on Wednesday a.m. Fish Report. I'm just telling you that this is a trait of this coaching staff, offensively, but certainly defensively, absolutely defensively, where the coaching staff has been too slow to recognize, oh, we got that guy. They got Randy Gregory. And when I asked Jerry Jones about this idea of 20% of the snaps and why doesn't he play more, and did you have a conversation with the coaching staff, he says, Mac, Fish, you're right on it. We're right on it. Jerry has had that conversation in the Monday staff meeting with the coaches. And first, I'm quite sure he asked, why doesn't he play more? And then Jerry said, oh, and it's a conditioning, and he missed the first 7 games. All the reasons / excuses that the coaching staff has given Jerry said back to me. He reiterated all those reasons / excuses. But then Jerry essentially said, but that ain't going to happen again. And what he told me is Randy Gregory is going to be on the field as much as possible. All the time, as much as possible. Now, so there's your demand. It's not a demand of Randy Gregory. He's demanded enough of himself, and good for him. He's turned around his football life, and he's turned around his life. This isn't Jerry Jones making a demand of Randy Gregory. This is Jerry Jones making a demand for Randy Gregory. We need more Randy Gregory. I want more Randy Gregory. I'm watching what's going on the field, and your explanations aren't good enough. We need more Randy Gregory. Now, does that mean he starts at the Giants? I can make an argument that he should leapfrog over Aldon Smith, that Aldon Smith should be the spot player, that Aldon Smith, who, by the way, defensive coordinator Mike Nolan finally figured out, and again, it took these guys 16 weeks to figure out that on 2nd and 7, you can put in your 4 pass rushers. You don't just have to do it on 3rd and 7, since that's what you planned all week. You got a 2nd and 11, put Aldon Smith in at tackle and put Randy Gregory in at end. And then Tyrone Crawford at the other tackle, and then Tank Lawrence. And go rush the passer, even though you hadn't planned on that. Because how many times do you practice 2nd and 11? Not very often. But then when you get 2nd and 11, Coach Nolan, you need to be prepared to put in a defense that works situationally. And they don't do that until a little bit against the Eagles. And I would suggest a lot of bit coming up against the Giants. The Giants don't necessarily run the football very well. No Saquon Barkley. You can get them in situations, or at least you hope to, where it's 2nd and 7. And that's when Aldon Smith can play. Kick him inside. He's 20 pounds heavier than he was when he played in San Francisco. He's a V-shaped gym beast. Probably 280. He's big enough to play defensive tackle. In any circumstance, he could actually probably do it. But certainly as a pass rusher. This is a Jerry Jones dictation to his coaching staff. And you can do your criticism of Jerry Jones all you want to as a general manager, and I get it. It's been debated around here for 30 years. It's not going away anytime soon. The Cowboys could win the Super Bowl, and it would still be debated. He's been named Executive of the Year, and that didn't stop the debate. And that's okay. I get it. Again, let me repeat this. Even if the Cowboys win a Super Bowl in the rest of Jerry Jones' lifetime, the criticism of him as a general manager will not be quelled. That's part and parcel with Jerry Jones' football life. I don't know if he accepts that, but I accept that. But let's give him credit here. The general manager just went to the coaching staff and said, quit screwing around with Randy Gregory. And Sunday at the Giants, I do think the coaching staff will quit screwing around with Randy Gregory. And for Cowboys Nation's sake, Randy Gregory will screw around with the Giants. Thank you for subscribing. We'll listen to 105.3 The Fan. We'll keep you posted here. Cowboys SI has all of it covered like a blanket. 2 million of you are reading CowboysSI.com. 2 million of you. By the way, DallasBasketball.com, our Sports Illustrated Mavericks coverage, 1 million of you are. It's the biggest basketball project in the history of Sports Illustrated, just like Cowboys SI is the biggest football project in the history of Sports Illustrated. And we're very appreciative that you tell your friends, that you follow here, that you subscribe, ring that bell, and we'll keep you posted. From inside the Cowboys, Mike Fisher. Fish.